Everyone, it is 6:32 p.m. Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. This is a meeting of the Bolton Advisory Committee. All right, welcome everyone. So we're in the home stretch prior to town meeting, and we've got a couple of things to finish up tonight. The first thing I wanted to do is actually run through a set of slides that are going to be used to describe, actually there's two objectives in the slides. The first objective is to always do an annual town meeting so that when the budget article comes up, folks understand what has gone into that budget. The other objective this year, based on the challenging environment we're in, is to just make sure people understand the options they have for voting and what the implications are, whether they vote for or against the budget. So we have a set of slides. The intent is that these slides will be presented on April 8th at our budget information night. The same slides will be presented a week prior to town meeting when Doug Story kind of runs through, does a dry run of all the slides, and the same slides will be presented at annual town meeting. So it's the same message being communicated multiple times so that everyone is on the same page. So I'd like to walk through those slides tonight, and I'm really interested in everyone's feedback. I'd like to know if the story is clear. Some of the material is a little dry, but I hope it doesn't drag too much. If you think it does, let me know. Okay, so I'll share the slides with you. Okay, everyone see those?
Yes.
All right, here we go. So here's the summary of the proposed FY26 budget. The total proposed operating budget is $33,957,500, which is a 9.1% increase from FY25's budget. As a reminder, the operating budget makes up all of those expenditures that fund the town's day-to-day functions. The total budgeted expenditures includes the operating budget plus our capital expenditures and some small state and county assessments. That proposed FY26 total is $34,392,136, which is an 8.8% increase from FY25. So this proposed budget, as presented, maintains the town services that you're used to at their current level, provides support for our schools based on their budget, provides a secure financial footing for the town for the foreseeable future, and preserves the top quality team that we've put together on our town employees. However, this proposed budget does require a $1.975 million budget override. So I'd like to take the next few minutes and explain how we got to where we are, and also describe some of the details that have gone into this total budget. Oh, I should say for the folks here, feel free to jump in the middle of this if you have feedback, or if you want to wait till the end, feel free to do that too, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I'd like to describe some of the financial pressures we've been experiencing that have been driving some costs. This is a plot of the national inflation rate over time. And as you're all familiar, inflation for many, many years was sitting between about 2 and 3%. In some cases, even less than 2%. And that was very manageable from our perspective. Beginning in 2021, as you know, inflation increased significantly and remained high for several consecutive years and continues to remain high. So next to those inflation bars, I have added the increase in our operating budget from year to year. And so what you can see here is that in 2023, our town operating budget increased significantly. And this is a 2-year lag from inflation, which is expected. It's based on the way our fiscal years align with calendar years and the way we do our budget planning. We expect to see a 2-year lag between any inflation impacts to our operating budget. So beginning in 2023, we have seen our operating budget feel the impacts of the inflation rate, and our operating budget has also increased significantly. So now we look at our Prop 2.5 levy limit increase, which is set at 2.5%. And what this means is that by law, or the amount that we levy through taxation cannot increase by more than 2.5%. We are not able to keep up with inflation, and we're just not able to raise the revenue to meet the needs of our operating budget. So
do you think on those inflation things, it might be more tell a more potent story if we did it like cumulative? So that by the time you get to 2023, you know, it's going to be, it's going to look ugly. It's going to look even uglier.
Right. So I debated about whether I wanted to show cumulative numbers or year by year. It started getting a little complicated when I was running cumulative numbers, because then you start having to talk about new growth numbers, and then how much was excluded, debt exclusions, and I just thought it was getting a little confusing. But you know, I'm open to suggestions too.
Yeah, I mean that I don't feel strongly about that, but I just thought it might tell a more potent story for us.
Yeah.
The other two, truly, I don't know what this would reflect. I'd love to see instead of straight blue is like, I don't know, a dark blue and a light blue showing here's what the town government budget was and here's what the school was, because I would assume that would highlight the big increase for the school this year. Again, just more stronger support for our situation.
Yeah, I could break it in the blue bars. I could break out
Yeah.
town operating budget versus school assessment. I'm trying to be careful about you know, trying to cast blame on anyone. That's really not the intent of this. And I know that's not what you meant, but I don't want anyone to take it that way either.
Hey, Bob, are you using CPI on this inflation number?
Yes. Yep.
Can you go back one slide?
Yep.
Okay. I did you just from a graphic standpoint, did you look to see if you used a line chart on the inflation rate and then use the bar chart on the operating budget increase?
I did not try that. I can take a look at that and see if it, yeah, and see if that makes it clearer.
Yeah, I'll send you a graph that
Okay,
shows it that you may want to incorporate into this slide.
okay. No, that would be great. I mean, the clearer we can make the story, I think obviously the better.
Hey,
Okay.
Bob, is the primary rationale of one of inflation? Are we bringing other reasons to the table as well later in this?
I mean, it actually, as far as we can tell, it turns out that this really is the driver. This
Yeah.
has been driving up, the school assessments certainly have gone up, but I think a big part of that has been because they're feeling the same inflationary pressures. So just across the board, whether it's insurance rates, whether it's, every contract that we have has increased. Our assessments have increased from other sources.
Right.
As far as we can tell, this is the underlying reason. And, I think I think it will be the case that every town in Massachusetts that is dependent on residential taxes is going to face this at some point.
That's a powerful argument right there. Or do
Yeah,
we have other case testimonials of other towns having to go through this as well?
many, many towns are doing this. And I'm willing to say if the question comes up that every town, if they haven't faced it yet, is going to face this because you can't escape this math.
Yeah. Okay. Just if not on the slide, then yes, verbally, I think it would be very good to have that data point. We're not alone, I guess, is the point. We're the whole state is.
Yeah, no, not at all.
By the way,
Yeah, I was doing a
in,
few little searches and found some math.
in 2020 and 2021, did we
Oh, go
also
ahead.
have to do an override?
No. No, that is a good point, actually, which I meant to say in the slide and I forgot to. So thank you for reminding me. No, it begs the question, how did we not
Yeah.
have to have an override previously? And yes, and if I forget to say this during town meeting, please somebody kick me. But the reason we have not had an override up to this point is we have been using other tools available to us to avoid an override, and those include ARPA funds. The town had several $1 million worth of ARPA funds that we leveraged. We have 2 years ago, we dipped into our stabilization fund for a roof repair in one of our town buildings. We have used our free cash and burned it down to where a minimum that we are comfortable letting our free cash drop down to. Last year, we only funded OPEB at about 15%. So we have used like all the tools available to us. And at this point, we've exhausted those options. And now we're left with an override.
Yep, that's a good argument too. Yeah, definitely. As you say, please voice that. That's
Yeah,
another good one.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, somebody just remind me, please, if I forget. Okay, so let's look at the sources.
So the obvious question for the taxpayer or from the taxpayer is if the inflation rate does not change appreciably between this year and next, should we be expecting another $2 million override?
Yes, great question. So I think the answer is no. If inflation stays where it is, it's around 3%, that is much more manageable for us than up at 6 or 7%, or even higher in some cases. The other thing that this budget allows us to do is puts us on a firmer financial footing. We will have fully replenished our stabilization fund. We will have increased our free cash. We'll have funded our OPEB commitments at 100% of our obligation this year. And I think we're on a much firmer foundation going forward.
Fair enough.
I agree with you as far as the town's finances, but let me ask the question in a slightly different way. if the school presents a budget of this magnitude again, will we expect another override to fund that?
You know, I think it's much more it will be much more manageable after we get through this override. And if we can keep the school increase to something manageable as well, we can survive it. You know, there are other options that have to be considered in terms of how do we increase the revenue side and not just continue to decrease the expenditure side. And that conversation needs to be ongoing and is important, but is really not maybe something that
Okay.
should be just debated at annual town meeting.
Also, just one last question is when you have the years down, and I don't know, I'm not sure what you're up against as far as the data, but are these for like fiscal year 2025, fiscal year 2024, et cetera?
Good question. Good question. So unfortunately, CPI is on a calendar year.
Yeah,
Operating budget's on a fiscal year.
I figured you hit the brick wall on that one.
Yeah, so I did my best to, I mean, it's in the operating budget case, it's fiscal year, and in the inflation case, it's calendar year, and they don't align just exactly, but
Right.
the gist of the story doesn't change.
Yeah, no, I
No.
agree.
Good question.
As long as you know, like most everything else, you've got the answer for it. You can say, well, we can't get CPI that matches our fiscal statement, so our fiscal year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit of a mix, but this is the best we can do.
Well, you get the CPI reading on a quarterly basis, right?
And I didn't go back and recalculate it on like on a July to July basis.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. So I wanted to show the sources of revenue. You know, here they are. The bulk of the revenue for our town, almost 92%, comes from property taxes. And you can see where the rest of the revenue funds come from. Yep. Okay. All right. So, and now let's look at the total expenditures, and a reminder that the total expenditures is made up of the operating budget, which are the first 5 rows here, and then capital expenditures and state assessments. And so you can see the largest segment of the operating budget is our education assessment. Is 66% of our total budget, and it increased 12.2%. And part of that is that the school district is feeling the same inflationary pressures that we have been, and they've been feeling those for the last several years. The salary and wage components of our town departments is the next largest segment of the budget at 12.6%, and this is actually decreasing from last year. It's down by about 2%. The rest of the town department's operating budgets is about $3 million, about 9% of the total, and it shows a slight increase of about 2.5%. Insurance benefits and retirement, you can see, has a significant jump as well, almost 25%. Again, that is one of the causes of the significant increases in the operating budget. And our debt service is decreasing. This is the debt, all of the debt outside of the school assessment. I should mention that within the $22 million school assessment, it includes the debt for the new high school. And then we have a few other warrant articles and other state assessments, and that gives us a total expenditures budget of $34,392,136.
Bob, might you consider swapping the percent of total and percent change columns?
Do you think that would make it clearer?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
I mean, the percent
I agree.
change, it's referring to the dollar amount. Right?
The percentage changes the dollar amount for FY '25, right?
Right.
And
So,
the percent is what fraction of the budget does it make?
yeah, these columns should probably be swapped if you were to ask me.
Okay,
Just the swap, yeah. That's,
sounds good.
that's fine.
And Bob, I would, since you have a couple negative numbers, I would put those in red, especially the town department salary and wages.
Should I make them red or make them like green as like, it's a good thing? Or wait, that's an accounting thing to make them,
Yeah, red is typically bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Red is bad. But red is also typically negative, so that's why I went
right.
there.
Yes.
But yeah, I would highlight that in green because some of the misinformation I've been hearing from other people about this override has been specifically talking about salary and wages.
Right.
So I think that to hit on that point is really important.
Yep. Okay, good. I will do that. Okay, so now we look at the total revenue that I just described of 32.4 million and the total expenditure of about 34.4 million. And that gives us this $1.975 million shortfall.
Not to be a pastor or anything, but last I checked, 136 minus 133 ends in the number 3.
Yes, thank you. So this is a rounding.
Oh, you hate the rounding.
I have been
Yeah.
digging through the spreadsheet to find out where I can add 50 cents. And it's, yes, it's also hurting my latent OCD nature.
I'll give you $1 if that'll help.
This happens to me in Schedule A reporting. It drives me crazy. They round everything and I'm always off by $2, $3 and you're just plugging in dollars randomly to make it
Yeah,
balance.
yeah. So what should we do? So the advisory statement that we're going to vote on tonight also looks like this, where it looks like it's off by $1.
I'd probably leave it like that. Maybe if you really want, put a rounding comment in there somewhere.
Okay,
Yeah, we could put a footnote, just say,
okay,
yeah, we realize there's rounding issues.
okay. Yes, all right, that's a good idea. Good. Then I don't have to
You don't have to
be
change it.
mired in spreadsheet hell. But
That seems easier.
okay, good. I like that. Thank you. Okay. So this is a little more detail on the breakdown of the operating budget specifically. This is not the capital expenditures, it's the rest of the operating budget. You can see that education, again, makes up about 67% of this, followed by public safety, it's about 9.4%. Employee benefits is 6.6, general government 5.4, and you can see some of the other contributors.
Bob, for what it's worth, I think those percentages are different on the prior slide. You may want
They are because this is just the percent of the operating budget,
Okay.
not the percent of the budget, including the total expenditures.
Yeah,
So
I
this is
figured
where
it was
we-
on a different basis. I just don't know if that's going to confuse anybody else.
Yes. Well, and not to make it potentially worse, but here is that same information in chart format. It's the same operating budget. It
Yeah.
shows the changes from last year. Again, to highlight some of those, the good news story, like, public safety is actually decreasing.
Yeah.
General government,
Yeah.
basically flat. Public works barely increasing. So I'm sort of debating, do I drop the pie chart altogether and just focus on this chart, or?
I'm wondering if you had, I'm not sure you could do this quickly or easily, but if you had like here's the operating budget section. So here's the changes. Here's a pie chart. Then, okay, well, let's move to total budget. So some of the numbers will be a little different. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that would help.
Yeah.
I don't think you need the pie chart. I think this is a much more important story to tell here.
Could
Yeah.
you do the pie chart without putting the percentages? Because really the purpose of the pie chart is to give a visual of, well, this is the huge chunk.
Oh, that's a thought.
Yep, I certainly could. I mean, that
I
would
like
be
the
easy.
pie chart.
Okay,
I like it too.
okay. Oh, hi, Pam. Okay, so the
Just
pie,
my 2 cents.
no, thank you. This is great. Any and all feedback is welcome.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, but I think we all agree it's a good thing. But if we maybe just eliminate the percentages, that might
Yeah. Keep the
make it
departments.
clearer,
Okay,
you know?
should this come after the chart, this
Mhm.
chart, or before?
I would
say
put it,
after.
yeah, after. Yeah.
After, okay,
Yeah, tell the story and then give the visual.
And then here.
okay, all right, good. Okay, excellent. So, right, one of the things I want to highlight on this chart is that, it's not the town operating budget that is really driving this. You look at the increases and they are minimal. It is really education, employee benefits, and other insurance, and that's just, insurance costs are just going through the roof.
And likewise, the employee benefits, it reflects advisory getting back on track with paying our OPEB liability.
Right.
All right, good point.
And I don't think that insurance is included in the CPI number.
Um,
Ooh,
Insurance.
I mean,
Oh.
it will eventually, obviously costs will eventually filter through, but I don't think it's in the CPI, that type of insurance.
oh, right. So you mean that they might be,
There might be a
just
further lag.
sure.
Eggs can go up immediately, but insurance doesn't go up immediately. There's, several quarter lag.
Yeah. Yep, that's a good point. Okay. All right. So, this is a slide on capital items. Just to mention what the two capital items are. I have a question for the group on this slide. So, as I was running through this, I guess last night, I realized there's no mention in these slides of the 230,000 funding for the stabilization fund. Is it worth adding it to this slide, even though technically it's not a capital item, just so that when folks see it in the warrant, it's not like, wait a minute, where's this coming from, and is this captured in all the budget stuff?
I would vote in favor of adding it to this slide because in effect, it's the replenishment of stabilization for a capital expense.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. I certainly would separate it. I wouldn't just
No,
put them 1, 2, 3, boom.
oh, okay, sure,
think
I can have a separate table, but on this, there's plenty of room.
Exactly. You don't want people saying, what's this other capital item for 230K? No.
Okay,
Bob,
all right,
Bob, can I make another note? And you may already have caught this, but the article numbers have changed because of the removal of an
geez.
article. So the wastewater treatment is currently Article 22. Lawrence Sawyer is currently Article 23.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good catch, Jenny. Thank you.
Okay, these are financial policy targets. I'll talk through what these mean a little bit. I won't get into it here, but basically, we are much healthier than we have been. Another year of adding to our free cash, and that certified free cash number should go up, and similar with the overall reserves, it should go. We're very close to our targets as it is, and the other numbers are looking healthy.
I really like the green, yellow, red in this chart. It's a quick, like, this is how we're doing.
Yep, and there's no red. Last year there was some
No
red, so that's good.
Yeah, there was.
Okay, so what are the impacts of this budget? So here it is. This is based on Bolton's FY25 average single-family home assessment of $820,577. So the tax bill impact that you can expect from the high school debt increase that was voted on about 18 months ago is about $714. This 1.975 million budget override will have an additional tax bill impact of about $976 for a total tax bill impact of $1,690. Again, that's based on an average assessed value of about 820,000. If your home assesses at less than that, you'll see less of an impact. If your home assesses for more than that, you'll see more of an impact. So a budget override of this size is no small matter, and it will be a significant impact on everyone in town.
Hey,
yes.
Bob, sorry.
Yep. No,
Just going back to something you said earlier, I think I heard you say the high school debt was included in the 22 million,
yes.
but here you're adding it again.
Well,
Is it double counting on the school impact?
well, I'm trying to make the point that, people will see a large impact, almost half of which was already voted on and we have no control over. They're going to see that regardless of how the vote goes at ATM. That's the $700 one.
This is just a personal opinion, don't love putting them together because we're not including other debt that we've already voted for. Like, we're simply asking people for an override.
All right, like the fire trucks and
Right.
stuff.
So why single out the high school debt? I would prefer to just see the $900 increase because we've already voted. It's a past meeting. It's, I think putting them together is going to scare people.
The reason to
I agree.
the reason to include the high school debt is it is considerably larger than any of our other debts. It's not just a fire engine.
No, but we're not
It's-
voting on it in this
Yeah,
meeting.
it's not optional.
Sure.
No, I
But
just,
it hasn't hit our tax bill yet, I don't think, right?
Part of it has, yeah.
and so that's why I wanted to include it. I think the word is out. I think people know that they're going to see another tax bill hit because of the school debt. And I just wanted to be completely upfront that, yes, you're going to see that hit on your tax bill. And, this is yet the next hit.
I just worry that people will vote no because their bills are going to go up $1,700 for this override, which isn't true.
Yeah, I completely agree. And not only did they already vote on the high school debt, but it passed pretty concisively. So
Yeah, that's sunk cost in a way. It's
Yeah.
it's behind us. So we should just focus on what's ahead of us and the impact relative
Yeah.
to what's baseline. Baseline is the high school debt's done. It's already included in our tax bill, or will be. What is to be decided is the override.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
If this stays in place, you have to make it extremely clear that the budget override is hopefully a one-time deal, and you're going to go back to the ongoing $714 increase for the next 30 years. Obviously, it's not going to increase $700 a month a year, but
Well, the override will continue also because it's a permanent override.
that's true.
No.
Never
So-
mind.
So is there any concern though? I'm just picturing it, town meeting, if we say that the tax hit's going to be $976. What if someone says, but I heard that I'm going to have a $1,600, $1,800 tax impact. And then, we'll say, well, right, but you already voted for half of that. Does it seem like we're, not being as upfront as we should be?
I mean, that was like 18 months ago. I mean,
But they haven't seen the effect yet. Folks have not seen the effect yet, and they won't they'll see both of these at the same time in the same tax bill.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's just I think you're gonna freak a lot of people out with this.
Okay,
I think if you're presenting this for the actionable items that are coming up at town meeting and reusing this presentation, I would take off the tax bill impact. You have the number in your head and to answer questions, but it isn't an actionable item for May.
right. Okay, it seems unanimous, so I will drop it. Good. Okay, thank you. All right, so, you know, the alternative to approving the budget override is that if it's not approved, we have to find the 1.975 million from the town operating budget. So the town operating budget that I showed a few minutes ago is about $34 million. Of that, 22,667,000 and change is the education assessments. Those come to us as an assessment. We can't change that number. We're on the hook to pay that. You know, we don't have any control over that. There is other, we receive other assessments that makes up about $3.7 million. And those assessments include insurance assessments. They include Medicare costs that have to be paid, the regional dispatch assessment. Those, again, we have no control over. We're forced to pay them. There is other mandatory spending, about $500,000 or so. Those are things like the Massachusetts state law requires us to test wells near the landfill. The traffic lights on Main Street we have to pay the bills for those. So other mandatory spending. So what is left over is about $7 million. Within that $7 million is virtually everything that folks have come to expect from town services. It is all of the general government folks that work in town hall. It is all of the police department, fire department, DPW, the library, Parks and Recreation. All of that is within this $7 million. If we have to find almost 2 million, it has to come from that $7 million. So the likely places that we can expect reductions then are in these areas. We would not replenish the stabilization fund like we had mentioned. We would be forced to draw down our free cash to an absolute minimum again. We would fund OPEB at some minimal amount, which would be the second consecutive year we would be forced to do that. We'd be forced to eliminate all Parks and Recreation funding, all Council on Aging funding. The EMT cadet program funding for that would be eliminated. We'd be forced to close the transfer station. The library hours would be dramatically reduced to a bare minimum so that they could maintain a library certification. We would not be able to purchase a police cruiser that we'd need to replenish the police cruiser fleet. Local road improvements funding would be cut by 1/2. Hours that folks work within town hall and provide those services would be reduced. Even after all of those reductions, it does not add up to 1.975 million. So some additional reductions would be forced to come at that point. All that's left, police, fire, and public works. We would need to do that to meet the 1.975.
You might want to point out that this doesn't go away next year either, or the year after.
Yes, there we go. Perfect segue. So, you know, there are some concerns in a no override budget. You know, the first of which is a significant reduction in town services like we've just described, but this would be very significant. In addition, this is not a temporary reduction in services. These services will not be restored to FY25 levels without an eventual override. The price increases will not stop, and there is no extra funding in the budget to bring back a department or hours or something like that. It also places the town on some pretty unstable financial footing. Our stabilization fund will not have been replenished, so that is somewhat depleted. Our free cash is at a bare minimum again. OPEB underfunded for 2 consecutive years. And then there is a significant risk of key staff departures. We have built up a top quality team of town employees, and there is a significant risk that many of them will decide that they need to move on.
What's the
which-
likelihood that our bond rating will plummet or anything like that,
Oh.
increasing the eventual cost of any debt we might have for the next 30 years?
Very high.
Yeah, no, that's a real potential.
Let me add that.
Which,
Um,
which would have an impact on the next high school bonding tranche because they, the district has no bond rating in and of itself. It's based on the 3 towns.
Yeah, that's
ratings.
part of what I was getting at.
Okay,
So saving $2 million right now might cost us 100,000 for quite some time. I don't know the number, but it's
Yeah.
significant amount on our cost of borrowing for the next 30 years.
how should I phrase that on this slide? Is it a reduction in a bond rating? What's the right terminology?
Downgrade?
A
Downgrade.
downgrade?
Yep.
Or increased costs to borrow.
Maybe Ninochka can come up with a cost of borrowing increase.
I could speak to our, we actually talked about this in a conference I was at this week, and somebody did ask that exact question. A lot of towns are going through this override. How do we give them an idea of what the cost would be if your rating was downgraded? And they said, talk to your FA, your financial advisor, and see if they can come up with some sort of dollar figure for you. So I can reach out and see what they say.
Yeah. I'm wondering
right.
too, and this is a raw thought, but rather than saying, hey, we got this $7 million that we have to cut from, and then go into those details, I was wondering if we had a pie chart that said of the 7, this much is DPW, this much is police, this much is fire, this much is, the various departments. So you can see the challenge that it would present should we need to cut $2 million out of all these. Who do we want to cut from? Police? No. Fire? No. And then come back with these other slides of saying, here's some potential things that we think could happen if need be, but all of these are terrible and we don't want to do any of them.
Right. I mean, sure, that's easy enough to add.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I wanted to kind of put the voters and taxpayers in the position of saying, where the heck do you cut if we don't do this? Oh, hell, I don't want to cut the police. Oh, hell, I don't want to cut the fire.
What I might caution though is that if they see that some of the items that are already kind of chosen as cuts that will need to be made, if they see them as a tiny little slice of pie, they might say, well, why are we cutting that when it's just a tiny little slice of pie? And they might not understand that.
Yeah.
It's the best choice or the.
If I were to do a pie chart, I think it would be at like this level of detail. It would just be, well, no, I guess it would have to be a little more than that. I mean, I could break out public safety.
Would you not perhaps just take education off of this list and adjust it?
No, right, no, right. I would keep it to the
yeah,
7.
What makes up the 7? Well, certainly public safety, 3.2 is a big chunk.
Right.
General government, employee benefits, public works.
Yeah.
This is what we face. Somehow we'd have to find the 7
Well,
Yeah,
within.
it isn't as simple as just taking education out because obviously debt service still has to be done and so on.
yeah. Well, let me take a stab at it and I'll see how it looks and if it looks, clear enough. And I know what you're saying, Jenny, and we'll try to make it so that, the intent is not to have people make suggestions on what to trade, what to cut. So I'll try to avoid that. Okay.
Hey, Bob, sorry, on this one, you did mention in passing that, prices are continuing to go up. but I think you can make a more powerful statement on the eventual override bullet. It's not that though, yes, there will be a need for an eventual override, but the override will be higher because we are avoiding a
Right.
painful decision now. But with inflation increasing, the override will have to increase in
Right.
future years if we don't make that.
Yep, good point. Yep, kicking the can down the road is just more painful later. Okay.
Just a quick aside, I'm sorry. I just want to say, Bob, I know we're having a lot of discussions about this, but we all appreciate all the work you've put into this and all the effort. And it's just going to be tough, and we appreciate any changes. If there's anything any of us can do to help, please let us know.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, this feedback has been great.
Good.
Okay, so this is just the same slide that I showed up front. I just want to bring it back to, this is where we stand. This is our proposed total budget, 34,392, 136. And it does require, it's a good budget. It's the best budget we collectively could put together, but it requires a $1.975 million override. Okay. So that is the slide deck. So again, I appreciate all the feedback. I will incorporate as many of these changes as I can and have another version. And that will be that'll be what we present on April 8th. So this is probably a good point to talk very briefly about April 8th. So the word is out. I got an email. I guess everyone in town got an email. There's information on the town website. I saw, my wife saw on the Facebook page that not only is the information out there, there's been some discussion going on. So that's great. So our first information night then, April 8th, Florence Sawyer School in the cafeteria. If you're available that night and can make it, that would be great. The more reinforcements we have, probably the better. But again, it's, if you're not available, it's not a big deal either. We'll certainly cover it. And I think, so reps from the school district will be there. Some folks from the select board will be there. Marie, I think you're planning to be there. Good, excellent. Ninotchka, can you make it?
I think I have a Bruins game, but I'm not sure yet. So
A Bruins game?
I'll find out.
Okay, again, it's fine. I think we have all the information we need. If we don't know where the questions will go, but we'll do our best to field those. Okay, so we have a couple other things to cover tonight and vote on. One is the revised advisory statement, and then we have to vote on the rest of the warrant articles. And before we dive into that, I think it's worth mentioning that it was obviously a very challenging budget year. I firmly believe that the whole team here, that the advisory committee, the select board, our town administrator, our town accountant, Jenny, all of our department heads have put together the best budget we could, given all the challenging circumstances. And neither option in front of us is particularly is really a desirable option. On the one hand, we're asking the town to, it will cost them more to maintain town services. And on the other hand, the choice is a significant drastic reduction in town services. So before we get into voting, anyone have thoughts or comments in general on kind of where we stand? as you're all aware, you know, the vote that we take is going to show up in the town warrant. And I think the way to look at this is really that we're making a recommendation to the town, and the select board will make a recommendation to the town to either accept this budget that we have all collectively put together or to not accept the budget. Does anyone think we should recommend not accepting the budget? Okay, all right,
We should accept it.
fantastic. Okay, so let's I'll quickly share the revised advisory statement. So here it is. It's based on the latest numbers, including the changes that I think were just put in the warrant today. So this should be up to date. Here's the total revenue, 32,417,133. Then if we scroll down here, total expenditures of 34,392,136, and it has that $1 discrepancy. It is what it is. All the numbers should be straight. I made the change that was suggested last week. We added in a clause here about the stabilization fund.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me check this number. That might have changed. Nope, that's right. Okay, good.
Good.
I think all the rest is right.
The article numbers might need to change again, right?
I think, wait,
Did you
no,
already change it?
I think
Oh.
you're right.
Yes.
So it's 22 and 23, right?
It is.
Yep.
22 is wastewater treatment and 23 is Florence Sawyer.
Awesome. Good catch again. Okay, so I just made that change in real time.
Was Article 6 staying Article 6? I don't know which one was removed.
Oh, good question, Craig. Article 6. Scrolling. Article 7 is replenish the stabilization fund.
That's odd.
Okay, wait.
So we injected one and took two out?
Okay, wait. So now actually Article 5 is the stabilization fund, right? That's this one.
Oh, sorry, yes. Article 5 is capital
okay.
stabilization fund.
However, wait, I have a note here somewhere. So the replenishment of the stabilization fund is
That is 7.
7, okay. Oh, boy.
All these changes are like dominoes.
Yeah, oh, they'll drive you nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Anyone see anything? Oh, this has to change. This is, we just said Article 7. Okay. Anyone see anything else we need to mess with? If not, is there a motion to accept our advisory committee statement for the annual town meeting warrant?
I move we accept the advisory committee statement for the town warrant.
I'll second it.
Roll call. Don,
All right.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Great, thank you. Now,
Do you want me to share screen for the warrant?
oh, that would be great. Let me see, how do I?
Okay. So I highlighted in yellow article number 2, because this invoice here has been added, and the invoice that was previously there, which I think was around $1,000, was removed. The wrong invoice was submitted to me. So it brings this down from 1,800 to 995.05, which is good news.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Is there a motion to approve Article 2?
I move we approve Article 2.
I'll second.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Jenny, do we need to vote on
Oh,
the main budget one?
oh, that?
Article 4.
Yep.
Okay, so 33,957, 500 or so, okay. 75,000, right, 20,000, 100,000.
You checking my math, Nanachka?
Can you tell? I can't see that.
I appreciate it.
33,762, 500. Wait a minute. 33,762, 500. Is that right?
That's right.
Why does that not show up in our statement? So we have total revenue of 32,417,133.
Right. And expenditures of 34,392.
Is it because that includes capital?
Well, this is just revenue, right?
30 is expenditures.
So this is just the operating budget only.
But line D, the sum of 33,762, 500.
Well, because that includes the 1.975, which is then called out in the next paragraph. Is that the problem?
Well, it could be, but then shouldn't it be our total expenditure?
Yeah,
Our
it would be
budgeted
30,
expenditures?
right, that'd be the 34,392, 136. in
No, because that
expenditures.
includes the capital item, so you don't want to have that in this
Mhm.
article.
Okay, thank you.
Because you'll see those in other articles for the expenditures and the free cash in the separate article.
So it would be 34,392 minus 88, is it for capital?
Okay, well, Nanashka, you're confident that's the right number?
That's what's on the budget summary sheet.
Okay.
I will double check when I'm on a big computer tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. All right. And this includes the override, 1.975002. Any other questions or discussion? Is there a motion to approve Article 4?
I move we approve Article 4.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
I have a quick procedural question, if you don't mind, maybe for Marie.
Mhm.
Marie, from what I understand, since the school committee voted for this budget, is it correct that no matter what, that their portion of the budget has to be presented to the town?
Yes,
Yes. Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Okay. What's next?
Did you go past the stabilization?
I think we voted on that one.
Like earlier.
Okay, I think
Never mind.
No, I think we're good.
we're at reauthorization of debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ninotchka, I have longed for you.
Okay. Sorry, my chair is so creaky. All right, let's. So back in 2019, we borrowed $250,000 for the Spectacle Hill flood improvement project. And so we decided to pay that over 10 years, $25,000 each, right? So then we got, a couple years later, we got $100,000 grant. Now there was a miscommunication on what that grant should have been used for. Kristen and I at the time thought it was to help us with the $250,000, when in reality, the project cost more than $250,000 and this grant was to cover the difference. So we took the $100,000 and paid down the ban. So now we need to keep paying down that $25,000, but right now there's no authorization to keep paying it. So it's already in the budget. We've already planned on it. It's just a reauthorization of that $100,000, if that makes sense. I know it's confusing. I see you all thinking about this. I had to go through it many times.
No, I'm sure it's accurate and I think I understand it. I'm more concerned about the taxpayers hearing this and getting
Right.
confused
So
over it.
this was the language from bond counsel, so we didn't alter it. This is how they wanted it written. And there is no financial impact. Like if you look at the budget, you'll see $25,000 in the debt in the expenditure tab, and that's been there every year. It's like 24,000 change.
Could you play a little bit with the text on the summary and make the last sentence first to say there's no financial impact? We're just reauthorizing it.
Sure.
I think that would,
Make that no financial impact.
no. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Like this article has no what, this
Yeah.
article.
Just a procedural, we're just correcting something that needs to be corrected.
Right.
Project's done, looks great.
Okay, great. Is there a motion to approve Article 11?
I move we approve Article 11.
A second.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye.
Oops. Oh, that cut and paste. It failed me. There we go. All right, we're into, We are into planning board articles.
Okay. Let's see.
Got me to scroll down.
Sure. Pam, do you want to give like a brief description of some of these?
Sure. Nothing's changed since the summary I gave at a meeting a few months ago. Currently, we have a proposal to replace the existing sign bylaw, and this just creates more detailed allowances for signs, both residential and commercial in nature throughout the town. If there's a proposal for a sign, they can be issued a permit if it satisfies the bylaw instead of having to go to a meeting of the select board. And if they want to request a waiver from some of the requirements, then that would require a presentation to the select board at a meeting.
Okay.
Jenny, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down, I'm not sure which is the next.
Do you want to vote on this one before?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Anyone have questions?
Does this one make those real estate 8-foot tall signs go away?
We did limit temporary residential signs to 6 square feet.
Okay.
All right. Is there a motion to approve Article? Which article is this?
Oh, shoot.
It is
Article 13.
13.
Is there a motion to approve Article 13?
I move we approve Article 13.
Second,
Roll call, Don,
aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Article 14, accessory dwelling units.
This is amendment. We currently allow accessory dwelling units. We refer to them as accessory apartments. The Massachusetts general laws recently amended to require all communities allow accessory dwelling units by right in any zoning district which permits single family homes. So we are updating our existing bylaw to satisfy the definitions and requirements of the accessory dwelling unit created by the Commonwealth. And then we also created 2 additional definitions just to keep consistent with our current bylaw and not change the size requirements of what we allow.
Okay.
This is
Anyone have questions? If not, is there a motion to approve Article 14?
I move we approve Article 14.
Second,
Roll call, Don,
aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Article 15, scenic road bylaws.
We have incorrect MGL reference and road name references in the scenic road bylaw, so we're just amending those to correct the references and road names.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Article 15?
I move we approve Article 15.
I'll second it.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Article 16, floodplain district.
FEMA's created new maps for the town of Bolton, the portion that's in the Nashua River watershed. In addition to that, they've also updated their bylaw requirements. So this is to reflect reference to the updated maps as well as the revisions to the FEMA requirements. The revisions include designating the floodplain administrator and removal of the 100-year floodplain reference. And also, I previously stated reference to the updated maps.
Is this related to last year's article? It's a similar floodplain article.
I'm not aware of article last year related to floodplain. I don't think there's been a zoning bylaw change for a few years now.
Thought there was some discussion last year about changing the 100-foot standoff distance or something like that. Or maybe that was wetlands, maybe that was not floodplain,
Yeah, it might have been
Yeah.
100 to 200 and.
something
yeah,
like that. Okay,
yeah.
unrelated though.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. This
Okay.
this is a FEMA requirement, and if we don't update our bylaw, residents would have to become ineligible to purchase flood insurance for their residents.
Okay. All right, any questions? Not, is there a motion to approve Article 16?
I move we approve Article 16.
A second,
Roll call, Don,
aye,
Craig,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Site plan review process.
Currently, site plan review is under jurisdiction of the select board, so with special permit designation with the planning board, so there was some back and forth where causing site plan applications to appear before the select board, where they often just referred them to planning board for a review. So this just changes that to have the planning board review site plan and special permit applications concurrently.
All right. Any questions?
this
Not
is
is there a
just
motion?
for, sorry, just for special permits only?
All site plan, but most of our site plan applications require special permits.
There a motion to approve Article 17?
I move we approve Article 17.
A second that,
Roll call, Don,
aye,
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Article 18, farmland and open space. Farmland, open space.
This is an amendment to our current Fosberg bylaw. It replaces it in its entirety just for ease of reference. But we were awarded a land planning grant and went through public seminars. And this is the outcome of those recommendations. We received a lot of public input and had a planning consultant review all of our zoning bylaws for housing. And it was recommended that we increase our open space preservation requirement in the Fosbergs to 50%, which we did. And then we also incorporate a 4-step design process, which requires applicants to evaluate more site-specific details such as topography and soil conditions. And all the lot sizes and development densities stay the same within this bylaw.
Kim, I'm assuming this is supposed to be the word "to," right where my cursor is.
I can't see, but maybe
Oh, right here.
shall be located. I can't see it, Jenny. I don't-
Sorry, it says in
yeah.
all cases, the land must be subject. Currently it reads OA conservation restriction. Is that to conservation
Yes,
restriction?
it should be 2.
Sorry about that. Okay. No matter how many times we look at this.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve Article 18?
I move we approve Article 18.
a second that,
Roll call, Don,
aye,
Bill,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Cottage Overlay District.
This is a new bylaw proposal, also an outcome of our land planning grant and public forums that we conducted last summer. It's similar to the Fosford in that it requires 50% of the open space be preserved, but it allows an increased density in a variety of housing types. So it permits up to 4 units to be constructed per building, and it allows a density of up to 10,000 square feet per bedroom. It creates a maximum of 3 bedrooms per unit and a size maximum of 1,850 square feet. And the purpose of that is to create a wider variety of housing options for starters and people downsizing, starter homes and people downsizing, and to prevent construction of large single-family homes.
This also ties into our revenue conversation with the budget as well. You know, at least we're actively trying to bring in different kinds of revenue.
Okay, good point. Questions? If not, is there a motion to approve Article 19?
I move we approve Article 19.
I'll second that.
Roll call. Greg,
Aye.
Craig.
Oh,
Oh,
aye.
Greg. Aye, aye. Okay, Don, sorry, I threw
You
you.
didn't call me first.
I call you in the
Aye.
order your little faces show up. Anyway, all right, Don. Don, did we get you?
Oh, I said aye.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. I think we got everyone. Okay.
So oh, there it is.
Do we need to re-vote on the wastewater?
Yeah, I just didn't highlight it. So there were 3 articles that were added as funding sources for this article. So you did vote it, but you might consider re-voting it.
Right, so you changed the total didn't.
The total did not change. It was just the addition of the,
It was how much
Is
was
this-
coming from other funding sources.
yes.
Okay,
Just want to make sure I've got those.
Just confirm 6.
This is not the latest one. This is missing the articles that I added earlier today.
uh-oh.
Why don't you, if you can give me a minute, you guys can vote on the roads and easement, and I'm going to go fishing for the version that has all of the articles added.
Okay. Do we need to re-vote on this one? The roads and easements?
So the language on Article 24 changed today.
Okay. All right.
And
Uh,
Pam might be able to speak to, Pam or Marie might be able to speak to the why of that while I hunt.
Maybe we should have the summary have the word associated instead of associate.
For Article 24, this is revised language that was provided by council today, which both addresses the acceptance as well as the required easements. It's more robust than what you had reviewed last week.
And they incorporated reference to the rotary plans that Beta created for the sidewalk, the rotary construction, which connects to the sidewalk of the subdivision.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was in there last time we looked at it. I remember saying.
Mm.
And I was surprised.
Did the Rotary go that far down, or did Goose Pond? Yeah.
Okay, I got booted off, but I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Nobody missed me.
We thought it was just a dramatic pause.
Yeah, I thought you were reading the article.
But it was
I didn't know if I'd ever make it back. Okay, so is there a motion to approve Article 24?
I move we approve Article 24.
Second that.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg. Craig,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
And I have gotten to the bottom of this problem, which is that I added the articles to the wrong item, to the boiler rather than to the wastewater treatment. So I can fix this right now.
Jenny, isn't that right? There's 2 articles that are going to wastewater and 4 that are going to the boiler.
Marie asked me to
Yeah.
add the 4 from today to the wastewater.
wastewater. Our hope would
And-
be that as much of the upgrade that can be done between now and next year's town meeting would serve to our benefit, since we are under the December 2026 deadline.
Oh,
So
wait a second, though.
Those
that will
articles are
exceed-
more than the cost of
Yeah,
the,
that will exceed the amount.
won't
so
work.
this won't work. So then we don't need to revote on the wastewater, but we do need to revote on the boiler.
You're using the same amount of free cash, it's just distributed differently.
Um, Okay. Jenny, are you still editing or are you done?
No, I had edited it on the boiler. Meant to do it on the wastewater treatment facility, but it doesn't work on the wastewater treatment facility. So it's a happy accident that I did it the wrong way.
Okay, so do we need to revote on anything or?
Yes, you do need to revote on Article 23 because it has the addition of 1,496.01 from Article 5 from town meeting of May 2022, 15,824.51 from Article 11, May 23rd's annual town meeting for the fire station roof, 14,535.16 from Article 12, May 2023's annual town meeting for fire truck, and 14,657.81 for Article 19 of May 2021 for the DPW truck.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Article 23?
I move we approve Article 23.
I'll second.
Roll call, Don,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Okay, so the bad news though, is that this, the domino effect is a minor modification to the advisory statement. It doesn't change the language. One of the entries in the, well, 2 of the entries in the summary tables will end up, I can show you.
Oh, Okay.
So this entry, warrant articles, let me see. Cash and other funds, this might change slightly.
I don't think it should in total.
And maybe we'll get lucky and it doesn't. I guess my question is, if that were to change, does that necessitate a revote on this, or is it sufficient to just make the expenditures table match the budget that we already voted on?
So that 351,869 is the total that you're gonna spend. So it's whether you have free cash doing it for this article or that article, doesn't really matter. Cause you're not breaking it out by article, you're just giving the full
Right. Right. Okay. Okay, I will check, and make sure that it's consistent with the budget spreadsheet and all of that. But does anyone feel like it would require, if that number had to change a little bit, would it require a whole revote, or are we okay with going with what gets submitted?
We're
I'm
okay.
I'm okay.
I'm good with it.
Awesome. All right, so I will, tonight or maybe tomorrow, Ninotchka, I will send you any changes that I was sort of making note of in the spreadsheet, just to make sure that you're tracking those and you agree with those. And Jenny, I will send you an updated version of the statement.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and when do you need those, Jenny? When do you need everything?
Well,
Now,
yeah, basically, the warrant will go to the paper for delivery on Friday morning, but
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll get you something tonight. Okay, so from an advisory perspective, I think we have actually checked all the boxes and met all the objectives. I think
Good.
we're done. Pending any, transfer requests that might come in between now and annual town meeting. So I
I
will,
don't think that we'll have the legal bills in time for next Tuesday, because it's just the first. So I would think you'll certainly need a meeting the second week of April.
okay, so if we have a quorum at the information night, we could just vote there.
Except that that's not a public meeting.
Could we post it as a public meeting?
Mm.
Anyway, okay, let's, if it's not like a pressing, transfer request, maybe we could hold it off for another week or something.
Mhm.
It's for lawyers. Slow it down.
Okay, so we're not planning to meet next week then. If something changes, I will let everyone know by email, and I'll keep you posted by email between now and town meeting. Anybody have anything else? All right, great. Well, thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. And is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
bye,
Good
thank you.
Night.
Thank you.